Hey, what's up? This is JR Noble, and welcome back to part 2 in this 3-part series that I'm doing on the simpler instrument. If you missed the first video in this series, make sure you go back and check that one out. Basically, what we did was we set up this instrument that we're using in this video and that we'll be using in the next video. And I covered some of the basic features as far as using this loop, the envelopes, and some of the other basic features, such as the velocity and volume. Also, if you'd like to follow along with this video, you can go to my website at jrnoble.co, and there'll be a link to download this sample, and you can drop it into your simpler instrument and follow along with me. In this video, we're going to get a little bit deeper, and we're going to mess with the LFO and the filter. We'll be using the same exact sample from the last video, but I'm going to show you this time how you can get a completely different sound. So just to show you what we did before, this is what it sounded like. So that's what we created in the last video. And now in this video, this is the sound that we're going to be making. And to show you how I got that sound, we're going to duplicate this track. And I just selected the track, hit Command D, and now we have the same thing here. And so now we'll take this instrument, and I'm going to turn off some of this processing. And we're going to show you how we got to that sound. So we'll turn off the LFO and we'll turn off the filter. Now in the last video, I pointed out these little boxes for the LFO, but I didn't really go in depth with those, but we're about to get into those more in this video. And basically, if I turn this LFO back on, you'll see that these boxes light up. Now we can start applying this LFO to different parts within the simpler. So basically, anywhere you see this LFO box, it's going to apply this LFO. And what the LFO is doing is basically it's changing any one of these parameters over time. So basically we can change the transposition, we can change the panning, and we can change the volume, and we can even change how the filter operates. So we have the rate that it changes at, so you can keep it in time with the song, which is what we're doing for this particular example, or you can have it just modulating over modulating based on a frequency. So if we just use a sine wave and we apply it to the panning, you're going to hear that it'll kind of modulate from left to right as I hold the note down. And so the more I apply the LFO to this pan, the more it modulates left and right, kind of the wider the pan gets. For this particular example, we're going to be using the LFO for the transpose. So we're going to make the pitch change up and down, and we want to keep it in sync with the song. So we're going to do it for every 1/6, or it's going to be kind of like a triplet feel. And then we're going to apply the LFO here to the transpose. So you'll hear the more I apply the LFO, the more it's going to affect it. And we're going to change it back to the sawtooth. So we don't want to apply it 100% for this particular example, but we're going to put about 25%. And now that we have this LFO changing the transposition and changing the pitch of it, it's going to start to make this instrument sound a little bit different. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the filter. And I haven't applied any of the LFO to this yet. And basically, the filter is just going to roll off some of the high-end frequencies. So watch as we pull this down. So you can start to make it sound more muffled. And basically, we're just going to roll it down. To there. Now, if I wanted it to sound that way the entire time, it would be okay just to leave this the way it is. But we want this filter to affect it in the same way that it's affecting the transposition. So it'll be more rhythmic. So now what I'll do is I'll apply the LFO, and I'm going to apply it all the way on this one. So now when you listen, which is different than with no LFO, where it just sounds muffled the entire time. Now it starts normal and then it gets muffled as the LFO applies to it. Alright, so it kind of cleans up the sound, but now it changes and sounds different over time. And you can adjust some of the different features. You can try band pass, you can try high pass, so you can use notch. You can mess around with these settings if you want to see how it applies the frequencies and changes the sound. But for this one, we're just using low pass 12. If we use low pass 24, it's just going to be more aggressive. So if we wanted it to cut off even more and be a little bit more aggressive, you can do 24. It's just a steeper curve for the low pass filter. But we're going to make it a little more gentle. All right, so that's what we have as far as applying the LFO. Now I could apply this LFO, like I said, I can apply it to the filter. I've already applied it to the transposition. I can apply it to the panning, and I could even apply it to the volume if I wanted. On the next video, I'm gonna show you how we can apply this LFO in a different way to get more of like a riser or shifter sound. Then the next thing that we did after we made this sound is, the next thing I want to do is I wanted to change it a little bit more. So we need to give it a space to live in. So we added the delay and the reverb. And then I thought it was cool to add like a phaser kind of shifter thing. And it gets this kind of like talk box kind of sound to it. So this is with the effects on it. So now we have that. And then once I applied this phaser, it gets kind of more of this talk box kind of feel. And now if we listen to all of this stuff applied and play this back, you'll hear what it sounds like. And now if we put that in with the song, I'm going to mute out one of these so we don't have both of them going. And now if you hear it in the song, it sounds like this. So you can hear it just adds kind of a cool little effect, just a little something, a little extra sonic texture to maybe add into your song. So that's using the LFOs and the filters in combination with each other to create an entirely new sound. All right, and that's a little bit more advanced, a little more in depth for using the simpler, but you can take this and apply it in a lot of different ways. And in the next video, like I said, I'm going to show you how we can use this to create an entirely new sound. And we're going to take it and make a kind of a riser or shifter and a transition to get into this section of the song that we're listening to. So we've got two sections here. We've got kind of like a not so busy or like a breakdown kind of section. And then this breakdown is going to lead into this kind of dancey section. And I'm going to show you how we can use this simpler with the same exact sample to create a shifter or riser kind of pitch change to lead us into that section. All right, so make sure you check out that video that's coming up next in the third part of this video series. Once again, my name is J.R. Noble, and make sure you hit the subscribe button. Drop a comment if you have any questions or if this helps you out, let me know. And if you're not on my website already, you can go over to jrnoble.co to get more helpful information like this, and I'll talk to you again soon.